Okay, so we're on page 64 of Ayin L'Doidi, the second column on the right. And we have a few steps of this mimer which we're speaking about. We said that in Chodesh Elul, the king comes to the field. The king goes on Hashem. It reveals the 13 attributes of mercy. And we said that the 13 attributes of mercy are a level of revelation which comes down normally when? Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur particularly. And nevertheless, they come down in Chodesh Elul, and despite the fact they come down, it's still called arousal from below to above. In other words, you would think that if it comes down in Chodesh Elul, maybe it's arousal from above to below, and that's why your work is an outcome of the revelation. Nevertheless, we said it's still a time in Elul, the 30 days of arousal from below to above, because it's enclosed. It's a way where it's not revealed. In other words, you may not even notice it's there, the revelation of Chodesh Elul. Nevertheless, it's what we coined with the phrase, and then Sinas Koyach, a power from above. And the power gives you the opportunity that if you want to get closer to Hashem, to turning to Him, to the right things, to Torah, mitzvahs, davening, midas, you're going to be assisted. You're going to get a special power in this Chodesh. Chodesh means month. And then we started explaining that there's a couple things you have to examine. The first thing we said, starting on column Bays, is that it's the way of the king to go to, right? Usually he's in the ear of the city, but he doesn't go to the midbar. Lo yashav adam sham. A person doesn't dwell in a midbar. Why doesn't a person dwell? It's a place where there's no growth. So in ruchnim, spirituality, this means that if a person is doing things which are not in the way of the king is not going to want to be involved in a person who's doing things which we started saying step number one is dvar b'teilim, wasteful things. A person is doing things which have no godly purpose, no growth, so the king doesn't want to dwell there. So a person has to make a reflection, a calculation of his thought, speech, and action. We said search your deeds for the past year and see how I can rectify them and get closer. Then we said there's another level. And another level is a person maybe who is poigim. What's the word poigim mean? He blemished. He actually did a sin. He did something. So this, we said a person has to have a bitterness of the heart. And last year we spoke about the difference between miriris, bitterness, and atzvus, depression. Who can refresh my memory? What's the difference between bitterness and depression?
There's an energy to bitterness.
Is what?
There's an energy to bitterness.
Bitterness, yeah, energy. In other words,
depression, I'm not thinking about it.
The what?
Depression, I'm not thinking about it.
Depression is when I didn't perform the way I was supposed to do it, and I don't want to do anything. You're both saying correct. There's no energy. I don't want to do anything. Normally, what do people want to do when depressed?
Nothing. Stay in bed.
Escape.
That's a good one.
People can escape in many places. They could escape in bed. They could just leave the situation. They could escape to social media, to videos, to whatever it may be. Just leave. And usually what happens when a person does that, then they have another day or days, or sometimes longer, where there's no productivity. And then how does a person feel after going for a long time and he wasn't productive? So how does he feel? Usually more depressed. And eventually he has to realize that he hit rock bottom and he has to snap out of it and get out of it. That's called depression. That's not a good thing. Bitterness, like I'm not sure Yaakov is saying, is there's an energy. I feel remorse. I feel bad. And because I didn't perform, I want to change myself. I want to do something. This is what the Alter Rebbe wants us to do, that we should arouse within us Rachamim. We said you have to feel compassion. We said, V'yashiv Hashem Rachmeyu, have compassion on him, meaning on your godly soul. That a person took his godly soul and he put it into things which were not Torah mitzvahs and could have been the opposite of Torah mitzvahs. And he has to feel bad that he brought Hashem there. I guess a couple stories I could add on this. There was once a shliach, and his balabas was into sports. So his balabas said, Balabas is somebody from the Chabad house, somebody, an acquaintance, and he invited him to a sporting event, let's say a baseball game or something like that. And he asked the Rebbe, should I go to the game? And the Rebbe's response was, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you go to the game, you should know, if you're going to go there, you're going to take the Rebbe with you. You're going to take the Rebbe Rayatz. In other words, the Rebbe would always say the Rebbe Rayatz, but it meant himself. You're going to go, in other words, you're not going yourself. You're a shliach. You're a shliach, an emissary of the Rebbe. So if you're going to go, it's like the Rebbe is sitting there as well with you. He's in the stand. You can imagine the environment. You imagine Lubavitch Rebbe, he's going to sit in such a place. The Rebbe in his kapota, and he's going to sit next to a lady, and there's going to be not Jewish music, and there's going to... So he says, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you go, I'm going to tell you that's who you're bringing with you. That's the same word over here. When a person sins, it's not only himself. He's a chelik elokam mamish. It's a piece of Hashem, literally. So when he does it, he's bringing the deepest part of godliness. That's what a Jew is, into a place which is opposite the ratzon, opposite the kavanah, the intent of what you were created and what you were put into a goof, into a body to do. So he says on this, you have to have rachmanas. Rachmanas means compassion. Now, we're halfway down the page. I'm going to go a little bit to a few more steps. He says, Acha Adam, right after parentheses. However, a person, Asher Yefasher b'maycha, he searches his deeds. What if a person examines what he did? He doesn't arouse with him the attribute of compassion. And he doesn't have a bitter heart. In other words, he doesn't have this energy. He doesn't have what if a person examines everything? Basically, what's the Alter Rebbe saying? He examines, he looks, he realizes he sins. And what does this mean? Who could translate? He doesn't have Rachmanas. Can anyone translate in better words what he's saying? Huh? He what?
His heart won't become bitter.
His heart is not bitter. You know how I would translate this? He examines his life, examines his deeds. He realizes he messed up. I would say, just English, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. It's like, I don't care. That's all that I was saying. What do you do? And I don't care, Nick. You ever heard that term before? I just made it up on the spot. I don't care, Nick. You have different things. I don't care. What's so funny? Huh? I thought of it on the spot. I don't care, Nick.
But pretty simple. Any of us, really.
What do you mean? Some people care.
Some people care, but a lot of times the average person, they know they're doing something wrong, but they just nevertheless don't feel pity. They don't feel remorse or like feel bad about their soul.
I don't know if that's the average person. I don't know. I mean, I didn't take a poll, but I would imagine a lot of people here, if they're not doing the right thing, they care a lot and they want to improve. I would think.
No, not that's obviously they're doing the wrong thing. That's what makes.
But I would think most people.
What if they're doing permitted stuff, but they never learn chassidus and realize that even when doing the Dvarim Hatayim, for the sake of whatever it is, for the sake of pleasure.
So if they don't know, that's a different level. Here we're talking about a person who searches and he realizes he did the wrong thing and he says, I don't care. Now look let's go a little bit further. Even though he went deep in his thoughts. How his godly spark fell in Golus. What's Golus? Exile. Exile means a lock. You're trapped. It's stuck. It can't. Simple Golus means you're not in your land. And therefore, since you're not in your land, Eretz Yisrael, there's no base in Mikdash, you can't do Tariq Mitzvahs, you can't fulfill your purpose, you can't do Korbanos and Shemitahs and Yevils and different agricultural laws, you can't do them because it's not accessible. Here a person who says Nitzal Kus is Begolus, his godless spark is Begolus in exile, it's not able to perform the way it needs to perform. It fell into Golus B'Shech Nafshi, in this depth of the soul. So what does he do? So he says, Zois Yasim Alipa. This he should place in his heart. Nasal of a mushal. He should take and carry on this mushal. So the Alter Rebbe is going to give an example for the I don't care, Nick. If you don't care, he's going to say it like this: Ki teva, because being that it's the nature on them of the person. When it pains him, even the toenail of his foot. Machmas, because he hit it with a stone. If a person stubs his toenail, I'm sure this happens to everybody. We go through a door, we're making a turn, and your toe hits something hard. Margish Akev, he feels the pain in his brain, and he has pain. In other words, the little foot at the bottom sends a signal all the way to the top of the head, and it affects the loftiest places in the body. However, says the Alter Rebbe, look at this mashal. When is this applicable? When, if you stub your toe, do you feel it in the head? Hainu, this is when the limb which was hit is oidenu mechuber. It's still united, it's still attached. Before it was cut off. Nobody should know of this. You have a concept of amputation. Right? I'm sure people have met somebody before, they have an amputated limb. So what happens if somebody has to have an amputated limb, and they take off the limb, and then let's say after it was removed, right, the nerves and everything, somebody's going to hit that limb and everything. They're going to, touch and poke at that limb for whatever reason it had to be removed. Is the brain going to feel it? Yes or no? Why not?
It's not connected to the body.
It's not connected. So look at the Alter Rebbe's mashal. He says this is only applicable, this example, when you stub your toe that you feel in the brain, when the toe is connected to the body. Aval, however, when you cut off the limb, the brain does not feel the pain because it was cut off and separated from its root. In other words, since it's like Yonasan says, since it's not attached, it doesn't feel it. Now what about us? Are we attached or not attached? What about are we attached? The Jew, are we attached to Hashem? Or are we disattached? Yeah, you could say it louder, Michael. You're attached. So therefore, says the Alter Rebbe, so to us, B'nai Yisrael. We are what? The Alter Rebbe wants you to think about this. We are connected and joined, clinging to Him. Therefore, we need to feel the pain, and the blemish, that we blemished and we descended begolus in exile. We descended. We have to feel. We have to remember that we went and we sinned. It's not us by ourselves. It's that we brought somebody with us. Even though that he sinned, even though that is a sin, the rest of the verses, Yisrael. When we say Yisrael, means he's Jewish. Even though he sinned, he's still Jewish. And not only do we say he's Jewish, we say Yisrael. Yisrael is known as Shem HaMayil. It's the highest name of the Jew. Yisrael, Sarkel. So even though somebody sinned, he's still the level of Yisrael. You are, we translated a few shirim ago what Yisrael means. Yisrael means Sar, the master of Kel. Kel shows on the level of Yud Gemidas Rachamim, which we said before, is higher than Yishtalshus. We said that's the number 13. The level of Lo Yadaynu, I don't know. The level of Pnimius. I gave you a few definitions for the name Yud Gimel. Right? 10 is associated with Yishtalshus, train like the scent of godliness in the world. And Yud Gimel is higher completely. It's Kabiyachal. When we turn our Pnimius, our innermost, to Hashem, He turns our Pnimius to Him. But the Yid, the soul, is made up of a Nitzis Elokus, right? Which is the Pnimius, the deepest part of Hashem implanted in the Jew. And therefore, he has the spark. And it doesn't go up. It's in exile. It's there. In other words, a person can be so far off. Don't think that he divorced his godly soul. He doesn't just think, I converted, and therefore, because I converted, I joined something else. I give up. Therefore, the Judaism within me, my soul within me, it went away, and now I'm a new person. The Alter Rebbe says that's not the way it works. It's there. No matter what happens, what a person does, it's still always going to be there. And furthermore, he's still called the level of a sar. What's a sar? A master. You're an expert. You are the master. Yisrael's, the Yud is consistent. Sar is the master. Kel is this level of Pneumius neshama, pneumius of godliness, the innermost part of godliness, which is higher than Yishtalshus. And you're still called Yisrael. You're still called this level of Yisrael, which we said before. Ki eina doimel, we'll end up with this mashal and we'll get ready for davening. It's not similar. The Maila Sar, the greatness of the Sar, the rank, even though he's in jail, Lamaila Hediyat, to the rank or the level of the Hediyat. Hediyat means ordinary person. Let's say you have a big king, a very powerful person. He's capable of ruling countries and continents. And they take him and they capture him and they put him in jail, right? At the end of the day, is he still a king? Even though he's in jail? Yes, he is. The Alter Rebbe says, Ki nikar, it's still recognized, ve'yidua, and it's known, my lasa shel sar, the greatness of this sar, of this minister, of this master, ubetznuah echad, at one moment, yochel, it's able to be, shibehapech min hapech al hapech, it's able to transform from one level to the other, legamer completely, lachzalach meisei, to go back to where it was before. In other words, the king, he's been in jail. He's capable of ruling a whole continent. He's capable of having millions of people underneath him and dictating and telling instructions and leading and making them a better place and making sure the economy works. He's a capable king. He's in jail. He could be there for months, even longer. You take him out of jail. He says, as in one moment, even though he was in Galus, he was in captivity, you put him to where he's supposed to be, and he's up there directing the country. In other words, he's still at a higher level than a Hediyat, an ordinary person who's not in jail. The ordinary person is not in jail, but he doesn't have that capability of running a country. The king in jail is still at a higher rank than the ordinary person not in jail. And this is what the Rebbe wants you to remember, who you are. You are a Jew. You have a godly soul within you. You've made mistakes. A person, he thought this, he did this, he spoke that, he was involved in Dvarim, even sins, even though he's a pogrom. Nevertheless, you are still Sarkel. And in one moment, right, because you have this level of Sarkel Yisrael, because the Yiddish Neshama, it's higher than ordinary people, don't have this connection to Hashem through Tari mitzvahs, the 613 mitzvahs. In one moment, if we'll do tshuva correctly, we're able to break out of the galus, and we're able to be, who we really are. We're able to act like a Jew, not just be called Jewish and everything. I'm okay. It's ish 5 o'clock ish. It's actually be a Jew. In other words, be who I am because I have this power within me, and I'm able to use it and perform the way I was created for. Have a wonderful davening, and God willing, we'll start Shachar soon. We should all discover our true selves and our true mission and accomplish and do what we need to do and remember who we are.
Yeshiva Torah Ohr of North Miami Beach.